eat like shit, you're tired all the time, all you do is fucking run, shoot, and that's basically your life for a month. In the modern Western culture, we lack the most important masculine ritual, those present throughout most of human history in our modern Western culture. What I'm talking about is the rite of passage. In older societies, boys weren't told, oh, you're a man now, or that you transitioned from a boy to a man over time slowly. That was just not the case. They were tested, broken, and rebuilt from a boy to man. In some tribes, I think it was in Scandinavia, what they would do is they would tie a boy's eyes blind and send him into a forest alone. No food, no protection, only survival. Just himself and nature. His goal was to survive there in nature by himself for a set amount of time. If he came back changed. Not because he aged, but because he earned manhood through pain, stress, and survival. Because he tasted their reality. No bullshit. Just raw survival, surviving on his own strength, proving that he can provide for himself. Therefore, he might be able to provide for others. And most guys today don't get that treatment. I'm not telling go to the forest and try to survive. That's not what I'm trying to tell you. No one forces you to face your weakness. Not in the most direct, brutal way possible. Maybe you're suffering weakness and that gives you some kind of a feedback. Because if you failed this, you failed that. But there's no moment where you confront it one-on-one. There's no moment in life for most men where they have to either completely cut themselves off from their own habits and identity and adapt the new ones which they're forced to because of their environment that they found themselves in. Because there's nothing violent enough to cut you off from your old self. I was lucky enough to experience my own rite of passage. And it taught me how important that ritual is from cutting yourself off from who you used to be and basically starting off with a blank slate. And I hope I can teach you this importance in this video, how to do it and why it's so important. I spent 2 years in the military, and what they do to you in the military as the rite of passage is basically in the first month of the military, you have the hardest physically intensive period. That's how it's supposed to be. And what they start off with is they shave you bald, right? So you don't even look like your old self. You don't recognize your old self, who you are in the mirror. You look completely radically different. You're cut off for like around a month from everyone you knew, right? Whether they take your phones away or not, that's different. Like that's an individual thing. I don't really know. I did have my phone, it doesn't matter. But like, you don't really have the time or even the energy to be bothered to contact someone that's not from there, right? That's why it eventually led to the breakup with my girlfriend, actually, because I just couldn't handle both her and the military. If you want to avoid that pain I've been through, I recommend you to check out my video on how you're not ready for a girlfriend. It should be in the description and at the end of the video, as well as this little card in the corner of the video. But they cut you off from your identity. You don't see yourself as yourself in the mirror. You don't have any ties, essentially, with anyone who you've met all your life. All around you are people you've never met, your platoon mates. And this is going to be your family from now on. Your life is completely different. You cannot do the same things that you used to be able to do. You cannot game. You cannot jerk off. You cannot do that. You just don't have time or the privacy. You have no place for comfort. There is only, you wake up, you have a strict drill, strict routine, depending on how it is in your country. You have to wake up. I had to run 3 kilometers, then get back. Then like I was served this shitty food where the fucking bombs could be classified as a weapon of their own. And there were literally, and I kid you not, there were literally bugs in my food. I'm not even kidding. And everybody would have stomach problems as long as we ate on that cantina. So you're tired all the time. You wake up super early, 5:30. You eat like shit. You're tired all the time. All you do is fucking run, shoot. You do like drills, learn to walk, all of that. And that's basically your life for a month. Depending on the kind of military you're in, then the further time is going to be different. There's going to be some changes. So you can actually like live, right? But this 1 month period that you go through is basically what it does to you is it changes who you are on a fundamental level. You're not the same person that you used to be. People who I knew before I was in the military that met me recently, they all tell me, bro, you've changed. I know I've changed. That's because I'm essentially a different person who I used to be before I joined that. Most people fail at changing their habits, be it quitting masturbation, going to the gym, eating better food, fixing their sleep schedule, because they're trying to add something new to their lifestyle, but they're missing the point completely. You have to change your identity. You don't add extra things to it. You remove who you were earlier and you become someone else. You don't build habits by building habits, right? As weird as that sounds. You build habits by changing your identity. Think about it like that. You don't go to the gym, you are a person who goes to the gym. Think about an alcoholic. An alcoholic drinks because they identify as an alcoholic. That is the actual psychology. An actual addiction treatment addresses that because it revolves around changing their identity as one of the practices that they do. Neuroscience and psychology says that habits are formed from your self-identity. So in order to change your habits, you must change not the habits themselves, but your self-identity, which there are ways to do it, right? Fair enough. Like you can do self-hypnosis, affirmations, all of that. Like that's a whole different topic that I'm going to make a whole video on about. This is not what we're talking about in this video. We're talking about the rite of passage. And because that is the one thing that guarantees to change you on a fundamental level. Why? Why does it work so effectively? Because it has to be stressful. It has to be painful. You must find yourself in a different environment that you're used to. You must basically live like someone else. Because my old self didn't live like a soldier. And then I suddenly started living a life of a soldier. So I basically, instead of being my old self, whatever the fuck I identified myself as subconsciously, then it forced me to identify as a soldier through my lifestyle, through everything that went around me, even through the severed social connections with my old friends and people I cared about. Sounds very brutal, but this is honestly the most effective way. If you're really, really committed into self-improvement, if you really care about this and you're serious about this, if you're sick of being tied to some kind of an addiction, if you're sick of being tied to your old bad habits or just simply your personality traits that you don't like, that you're socially scared of talking to people, scared of women or whatever it might be, if you're really, really serious about changing this, I guarantee this is honestly the best thing you can do. And why it works so well is because pain and stress is a signal to your brain for change. Your brain changes most effectively when it's stressed. Have you ever wondered why you learn so fast when it's a day before exam? Because you're stressed. Because your brain is more neuroplastic when you're stressed. If your brain is comfortable, it's gonna act in the most cost-effective way. Because there is no need to change. Nothing bad is happening. So why would it change? Let's just roll with what we're programmed with. Because reprogramming costs energy. But when you're under stress, your brain gets an impulse. Okay, desperate times. We are forced to adapt. We must. There is no other way. We cannot live in discomfort. So by putting yourself for a prolonged amount of time in a different environment that is so drastically different to what you're used to, you completely change who you are. This is how you optimize your mindset. Subscribe to the channel for more motivation and advice.